Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Death By, where contestants will earn reps for their arguments for a chance to stand on top of the podium pedestal. I am your host, Lauren Kalil. Whoever I decide has the best argument through the final round will earn 30 seconds to talk about a topic of their choosing. Before we get to today's episode, we want to thank our sponsor, Vuori. Now, I travel a lot, and anytime you see me at the airport, you best believe I am in their performance joggers. This is a lifestyle of comfort. It doesn't matter what you wear from them. It is buttery soft material. And one of the other great things is you can work out in their clothes, or even if you're going to a dinner, you can jump into some of their athleisure wear and dress it up a bit. So it doesn't matter where you are. Vuori is here to add to your life of comfort. Now, if you want to try them out, we have a 20% off code for you. Just go to vuori.com/TEF. That's VUORI.com/TEF and enjoy your purchase today. On today's episode, we have our stacked crew of the Chief Executive Officer at HWPO, Matt O'Keefe, affiliate owner and CrossFit analyst, Chase Ingraham with Get With The Programming, and the founder and head coach of Underdogs Athletics, Justin Cotler. Welcome to the show, boys. How's everybody feeling after the Open? We'll just start there. Is everybody alive and well?
We are. I got beat by Lauren in the last one. I'm just gonna call her right now.
I was hoping you'd bring that up.
I got beat.
Yes, I was very humbled by the Open this year.
Simple works.
Yes, yeah. It was good. It was nice. It was a nice wake up call for a lot of reasons.
Wake up call for next year.
Oh no, I still made quarterfinals.
Yeah. Okay. Season's not over yet, baby.
Not over yet.
Did you make quarterfinals?
I did not do the second workout because of my marathoning quest with my calves and hamstrings. So I decided to be smart, which hurt so bad. Trust me. I was like allured into trying to do it a couple times. I was with Jason and Brooke that day separately. So unfortunately, no. I think I would have probably, that workout was like wheelhouse for me. Who knows? But I think I would have been.
Probably would have won the whole world. Wheelhouse.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, all you had to do is be good at rowing, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Just ask Jason. I mean, he ran real close to the sun and figured it out. But yeah. It was honestly, I had a blast with the Open. It's the most fun I've ever had with the Open. Honestly, maybe because of my mindset being that I didn't necessarily care about my results and wasn't training for it. But it just was so, I mean, I know we'll talk about it. It was just fun. It was inclusive, we had great events around it. I was with great people. It's what it should have been all along. It just like felt finally right to me this year.
Good. Cotler, how was it for you?
Other than getting sick after the travel from 24.1 and coming back and dealing with the cough the last few weeks, it was good. It was fine.
Did you do any of the workouts?
I did the first workout in my garage, and then double unders are with these knees are not a wonderful thing. So just kind of modified that thing. And
Chase, you're with a couple of old guys here.
I was gonna say, you guys are so old and broken.
I got these. Listen, I got 3 reconstructive surgeries on my left knee from college basketball and various things. Yeah. So
I have zero room to talk.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
I saw your video of 24.1, Chase.
I was gonna say, I'm still recovering from 24.1. My goodness.
I liked your 24.3 though, where you gave a little quick celebration after the first bar muscle up. That was
dude, I was so happy.
I know, I saw you.
I
were like,
so
oh, these shoulders. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I have not done a bar muscle up or ring muscle up in over 2 years. We're gonna see how this goes.
There you go. Nice.
And you got one. Good job.
It's great.
That's funny.
All right, guys, let's get into it. Let's play Death by. Speaking of the Open, I know it's a few weeks now in the rear view mirror, but we need to talk about what were some of the biggest surprises for all of you, whether it's athletes on the leaderboard, the programming, the live stream, whatever direction you want to take it in. We're going to let you do that. And we will start this round with Justin Cotler.
So I've got to say the biggest surprise from the Open, and I'm going to be a homer here, is Gracie Walton. Gracie Walton winning. And yeah, she might happen to be a part of underdogs, which is pretty cool. But I don't think at the beginning of this that if you had asked anyone who was going to win the Open, that Gracie would have ended up in first place. So anyway, that was my that's my biggest thing, and she's going to be a force to be reckoned with down in Oceania. So my biggest surprise for the Open, as I said, is I'm going to be a homer, and I'm going to say Gracie Walton.
You can be a homer. I feel like anybody is, but now we actually have just looked at the leaderboard that she has dropped to second. But that's okay.
Gonna be my biggest surprise.
Dropped a second. Well, now the biggest surprise is that she's dropped from first to second. Because last time I looked, she was in first. So that would be. Does anyone know why? Was there a penalty?
Who knows?
Unknown.
How did that happen?
Just as the refresh of the leaderboard happens.
Gosh.
Well, you know what, Justin Cotler, we'll still give you 2 points to start the round. Chase, is your biggest surprise that she is now not in first?
I was going to throw that in there, but when Justin was done, to see what his reaction is going to be. But I'm going to go a weird direction. And I'm going to say my biggest surprise is the number of big name athletes and people in the space that are still complaining about the Open programming because it's not elite anymore. Like the Open, of which we all loved and adored and was involved, and it was so great. The old 2018 era, even though it went all the way up to 2022, it's dead. It's gone. Since 2021 and quarterfinals were injected into the season, the Open has changed, and we got to let it go. Fly, old Open. It's gone. And I'm still surprised how frustrated elite people get and are public about it. Year in and year out, it's gone. Let it go. What I really loved about the Open is that the phrase "the Open doesn't matter." I feel like that is so untrue anymore because we're only looking at it through the lens of the elite competitor or the elite fan or the news station. I would argue that the Open matters more to more people than it ever has in the history of the Open because we are taking the top 25% to quarterfinals. More people are engaged outside of the top. Yes, the Open has changed dramatically for those top athletes, but for those that are actually trying to make quarterfinals, no better example than Dave Castro. Dave Castro redid 24.3 because he cared so much that he had an opportunity to make quarterfinals. He redid the workout. I think the Open matters more to more people. We just might not know their names at the top of the leaderboard like we used to in the old days.
Do you think that Dave changed it to top 25% so that he had a chance to make it to quarterfinals?
100%. No, I'm just kidding.
We're just trolling.
He's been looking at where he fell over the last couple of years. He's like, I've been like 73 to 75. If we just, we'll just say it's for the community. No, I'm just kidding.
3 points for Chase. And to give you guys an update, we just checked in Gracie Walton. She dropped 6 spots from 24.3. They changed her score from 930 to 942. So she received some type of penalty there. Matt O'Keefe, you're up. What's your biggest surprise?
Yeah, I mean, piggybacking a little bit of the topic that Chase is addressing, but I'm looking at the other side of it. At least in our camp, it was surprisingly the least stressful Open I think I've ever been involved in my entire career in CrossFit, and I think it speaks to our system, evolving, and when we look at quarterfinals being 25% this year. I mean, you saw Brooke Wells not really do the last workout because she wanted to guard against some areas that she's been paying attention to. And she's like, whatever. I mean, I just need to know what I need to get through. I think, that mindset's been a pleasant surprise for me with the people around us. It made it a lot of fun. They were willing to do workouts live. That's such a stark contrast to years past. It was such a competitive stage for years, especially my history with Matt, because it sat there as this big moment to get to semifinals. And so, yeah, I mean, and, the second surprise and surprise is aggressive because I have faith that these things are, evolving and being looked at, but the accessibility consistently throughout the 3 weeks, it has to be the best programmed for the masses I've ever seen. And, I've said it earlier before we went live that this is the most fun I've personally had with the Open and felt in the mix. It's honestly a genius move how they presented it forward for people to advance, because people like myself care about that stuff. Dave, you're talking about, like, that's fun. I mean, getting to do something and accomplish and move on. So it was simple, accessible. That was pleasantly surprising. I think we've always sort of evolved on difficulty throughout the Open, and this year has just stayed the track. And it's 350,000 people globally doing this, and they all should be able to do every workout. And I feel like that was the case this year.
They definitely accomplished that. 2 points for Matt O'Keefe. Let's now move on. We are putting a close to the Open, especially now that some shakeups are happening on the leaderboard. We're moving to talk about quarterfinals. It's another online virtual stage of competition, but how could we make it more interesting for sports fans without actually moving this competition to in person? Chase, we will let you kick off round number 2.
I think we saw it in real time with the Savan podcast, Taylor versus the World. You had I would say the most engaging live video content we've had out of the Open, outside of the Open announcements. And I would say I was more engaged in what was going on with those head-to-head matchups. Taylor Self versus Dallin Pepper versus Jason Hopper versus Colton Mertens. Those things were absolutely incredible. So let's go the CrossFit route, right? If somebody does something better than us, we're going to take it, repackage it, and put it out there in the world. Let's take that. Let's take something. Now, you got to have some buy-in for the athletes, which is a much different story in quarterfinals than the Open, because there's a little bit more on the line. But man, what if we did an opening weekend of, say there's 5-6 events in quarterfinals. Can we do a 4-person matchup for North America and then go over to Europe for the second event? Go down to Oceania for the third. Let's go to South America for the fourth, Asia fifth, Africa, whatever it is. But let's highlight some matchups where there's people that aren't afraid to do one workout in front of everybody with some people to get more engagement, and do some of these live head-to-head battles and highlight every semifinal in the world with a little matchup of some of the best athletes that don't have as much on the line, and take what we saw in the Open, which was fantastic with the Taylor versus the World, which they're going to do again for quarterfinals, and spread the love worldwide.
And they have athletes. I'm just curious because, like you said, the biggest pushback, I think, is getting athletes to want to do that and be involved, especially now knowing that quarterfinals, there's a little bit more on the line to move to semifinals. They have groups of athletes that are saying yes and wanting to get involved.
There are for Taylor versus the World. Like, that's happening. I think Dallin, Pepper, and Colton are back on board to do all of these events together and live stream them. But like, you go to South America, they're taking 40 out of South America. You can find 2. You can find 2 to do event 2 only, right?
Absolutely.
And just like, look, do one for each semifinal in the world. Pick one event, not all of them, just one to do live. And let's just try to replicate some of that engagement during quarterfinals, which we've never had live before.
I do like that. 4 points for Chase, and we also saw Hopper really send it on that rower, which was
Hopper was great.
funny.
So I was like, not going to do that. Not that I could do that, but maybe for a round.
Matt O'Keefe, how do we make it more interesting without going in person?
Yeah, it's a tough one for me because I think, the volume of athletes is a really hard piece to solve. I mean, we've seen this done historically through the CrossFit Games COVID year, the Rogue Invitational in COVID, where there were, live broadcasts, in many locations brought together and aggregated. It's just an impossible thing to do with a stage like this with so many competing for those spots. You can, what Chase said is a great point is, I think this is a grassroots approach forward, is encouraging people like Sevon to continue to do that with athletes that are willing to put themselves out. There's just so many that this stage becomes like the old Open. It's like more engaged. There's repeats probably going on the way that they've structured the year. It structured the scoring submissions. From a CrossFit perspective, if you did, a day, a workout and a score, you can tell a story throughout, post-produce some things. But for me, honestly, I know this isn't going to be a popular answer. It's just a stage at which, if some of that organic stuff can happen, great. But, I don't see how they can cover this. Like it's too many people in too many different places, and it's too important at this stage, especially with now the condensed fields at semifinals. I don't know where you go other than we should cover it and post produce and, take the opportunity to engage off score submissions and tell the story that way. I'm kind of okay with where it's at, because I'm thinking of the athlete in that. Like, it's just a stage at which they really need to be focused on, how they're going about this and what's best for them to get the best score and get in the best position for the next round.
So especially being in the position you're in as an athlete manager, would you suggest, like, at this stage that your athletes don't participate in something kind of as Chase is talking, because it's so important, and they should just stay where they are and focus on delivery of the workout?
Yeah, I would say that that's a different answer for different people, quite frankly. If, there are so many people that this stage, honestly, truly, if you just objective about it, is not that stressful. And those at which, you can use those opportunities to create, a more enjoyable experience through it. But yeah, the direct answer, Lauren, is I don't think, if somebody asked me that question, I'd be like, you should just do the workouts, and take full advantage of the way it's structured. And if videoing it, putting it public or going live is detrimental to that, let's not do it. I mean, this is about you trying to win the CrossFit Games, and you have to get to the next stage the way you want to, confident. And there's so many little factors that go into it. It's like, if somebody has a crappy quarterfinals, that's a mental burden, and those things can contribute. So, just historically through my experience with the Open, particularly way back, my senses are, honestly, let's compete. Let's do this the best we can to get the best result.
It's not a time for sports fans to watch. Let the athletes perform. That's what O'Keefe says. 2 points for you. Let's move on to Justin Cotler. What are your thoughts here?
Honestly, my thoughts are pretty much very similar to what Chase had said. I think we saw in the Open, it really was, the Savant stuff, and we saw some other athletes. We saw, I think, Barbell Spin put, some videos together and made it really interesting for people to watch, one athlete from one part of the world versus another. And so I think that's a great way to do it. And I think obviously that, but I do believe it's a great opportunity. And unfortunately, we got rid of the Miles to Madison episodes, and that whole piece, which I thought was so great. And I think fans love behind the scenes. And what I would love to see is, I would love to see, a lot of the camps represented, or maybe not even camps with some of the individual athletes, but I would love to see the behind the scenes of, the quarterfinals, or a day in the quarterfinals, where you see athlete mic'd up, you see coach mic'd up, you talk through strategy, you see the warm-ups. Those are things that fans love, and something that I think this sport is sorely missing is a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. So I don't know exactly how it would get done. I think you could essentially just talk to the camps and say, hey, we want to do, we want to be able to feature behind the scenes from, maybe Mayhem Proven Hard Work Pays Off this week, and maybe Underdogs, Training Think Tank and the program this week, et cetera. And you have different things, and then maybe one week it's Jeff Adler and Brent Fikowski, who maybe don't, live in a camp setting. But I do know that, we don't see enough of that stuff, and we see it in other sports, and it's incredibly engaging. And I miss that, I think there's that reality aspect of things that people love to watch. They want to know the ins and outs, the nitty gritty behind it. They like, seeing the drama unfold. And, I think that would be a great way to enhance quarters, which obviously people are not there in person. They can't see it.
3 points for Justin. I'm curious, especially since we have Justin and O'Keefe on 2 different training camps. Do the training camps discuss having some kind of coverage like that, whether it's a battle between training camps or getting training camps to go to one location to have some kind of competition or some kind of something that brings viewers in?
I think that, I mean, you here just to like clarify a bit. I think that if we could, the more we can do in person, the better, right? So that, like, let's just get that out of the way. I mean, I'd love more people to compete in lanes against each other and create stories, but when you're dealt the rules and the way it's structured, I just think you're, putting people at a disadvantage. You would always look at those things and be like, hey, maybe I call Justin and let's get all the underdog athletes to, our facility and we do it together. But and he'll relate to this, is like, that's why wouldn't we take advantage of being comfortable in that setting if it's going to be a hard path to the next stage, especially, right? So it's just like one of those things where you're dealt rules and structure around how the system works, and your job as someone who runs a camp is to put these guys in the best position to succeed in the moments that are dealt to you. So like I would just, if Justin's come up, we love hanging around with other camps. We have great relationships with many of them. It's just that stage to me, probably not.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I don't
here's
think
a thought.
go ahead, Lauren.
No, you can finish your thought and then I'll bring it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think that it's realistic in the quarterfinal stage to really have too much competition between the camps, especially like scheduled. It's kind of a funky, and especially now with the new rules and you're dealing with the age groups at the exact same time as you're dealing with, that makes it hard. I was talking more about within the camp, and most of the camps have content creators that do a wonderful job and could put something together, relatively quickly. But I do think it's something that should be in cahoots and in partnership with CrossFit, right? Like I think they need to go hand in hand. Obviously, we're going to do it, and the other camps are going to do it to promote themselves. But ultimately, this could be in coordination with CrossFit. If they don't want to send their own content creators, then say, hey guys, like we would love to, put this on our YouTube page or be able to share this with the public on our IG or, whatever it might be. I just think that we're missing the boat with a lot of the behind the scenes content. People love that stuff and you just don't see it. It's kind of like, where is it?
That's
we
what
will spend a ton of money against telling that story. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Like we'll go into the woodshed on content and vlogging, all that. But you're right. Like there's definitely more that we could be collaborating on together.
That's what I was thinking about when both of you guys were talking, and Justin, exactly that is like, listen, if CrossFit has a small media team, which they have said in the past that they do, sending people out and around to travel and put together all this, I think is a waste of resources and time and space. Is like, why not do some type of professional official collaboration with every camp in the world and say, if you can give us this content, like pay them, right? Pay them is like, we need a 2 to 5 minute, underdogs camp recap, proven recap, the program, so on and so forth. And just like recruit all of these camps that are already doing this stuff. They can do their own long form videos afterwards. Mayhem's been doing that. Like all these camps have been doing it. It's been fantastic, but maybe something short, condensed that can come out the day it closes or the day after. You have 3 days of submissions and just work with all of these around the world and just buy their services to get their content, as well as that cross promotion that they can put out on social media and cross, like exclusively for the games themselves, because it's content that they need to have and that they don't really have the bandwidth to do anymore.
I like that idea, leveraging the content creators that are already in the training camps, because
It's
there's some
what
of
they
the best
used to
in the
do,
space.
right? Before that media team really grew to the height at which it was in 2018, CrossFit would pay these tiny little media I mean, does everybody remember Sick Fit? Am I the only one that remembers what that was? And like, that's what they used to like reach out to. And I mean, even like CrossFit Central when they were kind of the part of the same thing, but like go back to the old ways. If we can't do our own content for whatever reason from CrossFit, then let's reach out to those that are doing it amazingly and just see if we can work some type of professional collaborated effort for the CrossFit Games to push both of these things.
Some good ideas. I like it. We'll see if any of it can happen in the near future. Moving on now to Dave Castro, or at least something that happened on his content channel. He recently had a viewer on his question or have a question on his weekend review discussing betting and CrossFit. And this kind of got my wheels turning. And I thought it could be an interesting conversation. If you all think there should be sports betting in CrossFit, why or why not? Matt O'Keefe will let you finish off the first or the final round of our show.
I mean, absolutely. 100% should be betting in CrossFit. This is a perfect example of, taking learnings from other sports platforms and applying them the best we can to what we do. I mean, that has blown up, the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL. I think people forget, historically, the NBA was in trouble in the 80s. The NFL was not the product it is today. And then even the 90s. And all these, engagement opportunities have created a bigger sphere that they live within. So it's fun for fans to be able to engage. It creates more conversations around, the water cooler, essentially, about what's going to happen and who's going to. It's just 100%. Just an easy decision from my perspective that needs to be something I think that CrossFit should pursue personally. Like, I think there's a lot of posturing going around other platforms right now that are trying to get into that game. They should partner with one. Like, the NFL partners with DraftKings. We should have a more formal, engaged approach to that, from the sport itself. I mean, it is a incredible opportunity to grow the fan base. And create more interest in micro moments. You talk about quarterfinals. Here's an easy way to, get the fans more engaged in quarterfinals. Have some sort of fantasy league around it or sports betting around it. This is an absolute home run. So we need to continue to engage those that are interested in it and building around it. And I think even look at from CrossFit's perspective how they might even be able to do that stuff independently.
Yeah, and I think the Heat One app, they've already kind of started this thought process, how they have people who can like draft and have the matchups and things like that. Just taking it one step further could be super interesting. O'Keefe, 3 points. Justin Cotler, what is your take?
I agree. I mean, it's not much. There's not much more to add to it other than to say, I mean,
would the athletes be on
how to create
more
visibility? I think they would. 100%.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think anything that creates more buzz and visibility, and I mean, listen, there's people love to bet, and a lot of times they don't even give a rat's ass what they're betting on. They just want to bet, and I mean, but the truth is, I mean, I live in Vegas, so obviously, we see what the world is, what it brings here. And I mean, I think it's the most visited city in the world, tourist wise. But yeah, I don't think there's anything negative about it. I mean, obviously some people will bring it up, but we're talking about growing a sport, kind of breaking it out of a niche and making it global and creating more visibility and bringing in a fan base, et cetera. And at the end of the day, this is something that has to happen. I don't think there's any question. It's something that's incredibly necessary. And, I think the positives far outweigh the negatives.
3 points for Cotler and Chase. Yay or nay?
The answer is hell freaking yay. I mean, think this is this like betting, gambling, and I'm not even talking money. I'm just talking like betting. Who do you think's going to win? We used to do this back in the day on like Excel sheets and pieces of paper during like the speed clean ladder. And it was like, hey, who's your horse in this heat? Who's your horse in this heat? Lauren, you already said it. It's already being done. The Heat One app right there on my phone. and it's freaking perfect. It was at the Rogue Invitational. I had never been more glued to a competition than I've ever had. And I'm glued to these competitions already. It was part of the Wadapalooza broadcast this year. It is absolutely incredible. And CrossFit should 100% partner with the Heat One app. They're already doing it anyways. You might as well make it official and partner with them and do something. Head-to-head matchups and athletes in the quarterfinals. If we can't get live matchups like we talked about in the second question, all right, for event one, now that we know what it is, before the first submission window is done, who do you think is going to win between Laura Horvath and Tia Toomey in event one, or Jason Hopper and Dallin Pepper in event two? It is the single most engaging, exciting, attention-grabbing thing a sport can possibly do, and that's add betting and gambling. I talk with my hands too much to the sport itself. So it's already done, right? It's already done. Just go talk to Tyler Watkins and the Heat One app, and he will do it for you. He just would like to use the CrossFit logo when he does. So it's not even a question. Just say yes. He will say yes, and then everything is going to get more exciting going forward.
Do you know if these conversations have been had yet?
No.
Like even just between the folks from Heat One, if they've been talking about ways to turn it into a gambling and monetary thing?
The speed at which Tyler texted me that Dave mentioned to have sports gambling come into the space shows me that they have not had those conversations, but Tyler has been waiting by the phone to make this phone call. And I think it's a phone call, email, or text away to have this happen by April 17th.
And it's such a bettable sport. I mean, think about all the things you can bet on. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's never ending.
The dumbest things too. I mean, we bet on the coin flip of the Super Bowl or the length of the national anthem.
Right.
I heard someone say today, it was like, bet on how many athletes over under are going to come out with mixed match shoes for the certain event on the competition floor. It's just like, is someone going to, how many no reps are going to be given to depth for whatever, it'll be, you're right.
A lot of prop bets.
It's endless possibilities.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. 3 points for Chase, just so we can kind of play devil's advocate, because nobody said that it would be a bad thing. What could be some of the hangups if we introduced sports betting into CrossFit?
Money.
Yeah. I think that's a good point, but I think, there's obviously a divide, globally with, I honestly, I forget it globally. I think the US has a more abrasive line on, that being accepted or not. It's softening through, it being opened up nationally. I mean, the association with betting in Europe is pretty casual. I mean, they bet on like who's going to cross the street first, and it's just literally like
I saw some people bet on like what golfer would get to the tee box quicker.
Total. I mean, it's like the British Open is historically, it probably could be, I'd have to look this up, the first like sporting event that was allowed at in the globe with betting in general. But, you go to an event over there from a golf perspective, you can bet on like how fast they're going to walk down the fairway. Like it's just a part of the culture. So, I mean, I think it's, the obvious is, it's an area people struggle with, and you're, putting, more opportunity in front of them to do things that maybe they can't, afford. There's a lot. I mean, you could say that about everything though. Alcohol, like food. I mean, people get addicted to these things and don't treat them.
Working out.
Yeah. I mean, working out. So,
we're all
that's the obvious downside with it is, there's, not all glory with these things, but, I mean, I think that stigma attached is being softened in the US with, our government's now approach with allowing people to do this, basically anywhere, everywhere. But I mean, there's always downside.
I think the hedge against that early on is, like I said money is like, take the money out of it. Because right now, like the Heat One app isn't an actual like money gambling application where you pay a certain amount in the odds and you can win this or lose that. I think like, let's I think that's further down the road. And Dave said that in his weekend review is like, we are not there and there's no rush to get there. But if you think about what CrossFit could do in partnering with, we'll say the Heat One app, for example, is that, they're out there doing their best to try to get prizes for someone who wins or top 5. And that's a fun piece. If you're going to partner with CrossFit, how cool it be is the top 10 on the leaderboard in this app all get a level 1. And the next 10 behind that get 50% off. Or an affiliate owner. If you're an affiliate owner and you win this worldwide thing, maybe your affiliate fee is bounced off for the next. Like, there's so many things CrossFit could infuse in that are just gifts from CrossFit to them. It's no sweat off their back. It's more people engaged in the sport. And we tie in all these kind of things that could be really beneficial for the community from a grassroots feel. And then, the money thing, I think until you perfect that, there's just too many variables, especially in CrossFit, because in these other sports, they're like, this is how you play this game, and this is the only way you can play it. So the rules are a bit easier to bet on, aside from prop bets and side bets. But for what it is now, keep it grassroots, infuse more CrossFit incentives in it if they want to bring that into the season, and then go from there.
Well, and if that was at the games, what a great way to get your partners and sponsors of the games involved to
There you
give away
go.
memberships and merch and all of these different
Hey,
things.
event 1's going to be this partner. Event 2 is going to be this partner. So if you have the highest placing thing is like, and it was at the games last year, and it's freaking fantastic.
Yeah, it's a huge engagement opportunity. The other thing is like fixing.
Right.
I went to BC and was there during the gambling scandal for football, and it's horrifying, honestly, because that where money comes in, that's where you got to ease into and figure out the nuances to make sure that you're not putting yourself in a position where, I mean, just think about it, the sport's growing, the money for athletes is very top heavy. So, you just don't want to get yourself in a situation where, the 10th place finisher is fixing, on bets and things. I mean, we want people to have integrity, but the reality is that's existed in sports forever, is that's a downside to this. So it's not a perfect, you do like the NCAA bracket approach, fantasy approach, which is, I think, how NFL has done best, is like, entering these pools for $20, $30, $50, instead of like betting your life savings against, the Cardinals beating the Rams. It's probably a good ease into the system, is just be like, hey, put an entry in, it's $20, and then there's a grand prize if you're going to start to involve money, but you got to be careful with it. I mean, historically, athletes and sports evolved to find, ways to make money. And I would like to think that wouldn't happen, but the rubber meets the road eventually on things like that, when the finances get bigger and bigger.
We'd have to create definitive rules and definitive lines as to, as to what we're doing, who can bet. Obviously, you look at, baseball, football, et cetera. I mean, athletes can't bet on themselves or their teams, et cetera. So we'd have to create, very definitive boundaries. But I do think ultimately it would be a great thing.
Heat One app, great place to start. Chase, you won again. Go ahead. What do you got to talk about?
Shocker.
I am excited for quarterfinals because I didn't get to do it last year, and maybe it wasn't my best open performance, but the wake-up call I got in the open has pushed me to train a bit harder in the time I have between open and quarterfinals. So I'm curious to see if I do better than I did in the open. But I'm also excited to see, honestly, what the programming is. They've said from basically 16 to 54, the programming is going to be the same. So how are they going to balance getting people to semifinals, yet letting 25% of the people play a little bit when it comes to this? So that's going to be the biggest question I'm looking at over the next couple of weeks, if we get any information or details or hints about what's coming in quarterfinals. But I'm excited either way.
Okay, I can't wait to see you on the leaderboard, Chase. I'll be there too, but not in your age bracket.
Or we're not going to be next to each other in the lottery, but yes.
I'll still be there swinging at your scores.
This is when I'm pretty happy I didn't qualify for quarterfinals. I'm getting nervous for you, Chase.
I'm nervous too. I'll throw this out there for another last 5 seconds. My goal, big stretch goal, is I would love to qualify for semifinals in my age division, which I know is top 200. So I'll throw it out there to keep myself honest over the next couple of weeks and throughout the quarterfinals, but I'll put myself out there. That's my goal.
You said it. Better happen.
You said it here first.
Thought about
we're gonna
not doing
clip
it. I was
that, and
like, yeah,
we're gonna put it on repeat just to remind everybody.
I shouldn't have said that.
Chase, Matt, Justin, thank you guys for playing once again here on Death By. Thank you to our partners, Viore. Again, you can get 20% off at viore.com/TEF. Good luck on the next stage. It starts next week for teams. Then we'll have a few weeks off and then individual. And I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about from there. Thanks again, and we will see you guys next time.